Hello, welcome to Cami Designs, and today we're going to go over how to do a rib. I'm going to show you how to do it in the flat or on straight needles, and it's going to be a 1x1 rib. So knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, and repeat. And this is size USA needle that I'm using, and a worst weighted yarn, and it is by Premier Just Yarn, worst weighted, and this is a USA. Now, to work a rib, you knit one, purl one. So you have to remember to move your yarn to the back. So knit one in the back, so your yarn is in the back, and then I'm going to purl the next one, so I need to move my yarn to the front of my work. And I'm going to purl into this next stitch. Here, sorry, my hand's getting in the way. And purl. And then we're going to knit, so the yarn's got to go to the back. And knit. And it sounds like it's time consuming, but once you get into the hang of it, it works pretty well. And I apologize again if you can hear my 5-year-old in the background. He's getting very excited about his science videos. But so you just keep knit one, purl one. Go to the front to purl. Now, there is a trick. If I were to have to put this down and I had to come back and pick it up, and I'm like, okay, I can't remember if I was on a knit one or a purl one. There are two ways you can look. You can see what your last stitch was, and I have this bump in the front, and that means I did a purl last. But if I did a knit last, it would look sort of like this, a little V here. But on some projects, you do a rib 2x2. So it's knit 2, purl 2. And you'd have to count 2 purls and 2 knits. Another way you can tell is how our yarn is laying. Right now it is laying to the front of my project. That means I just finished a purl. If I were to finish a knit, it would be at the back, the back of my project. Now, when I cross it over, fuzzy on my arm. If you cross it over to the back, you can see that it doesn't want to stay there. It doesn't lay relaxed there. That is another way I can tell that it actually wants to go to the front, which means I did a purl last. So it goes to the back of my yarn, and I can go back to my knit one, purl one. Knit one, purl one. Yarn to the back, to knit one, and then I go to the front to purl one, just like this. He is very excited about his video, I hear. And you knit one, purl one. Oops, I almost dropped my needle. Knit one, and purl one, and then go, and I'll knit one into my last stitch. And you might end up on a different stitch. You might end up on a purl, depending on how many stitches are in your pattern. And you can see a rib is starting to form. So I have a knit, row knit, a row purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, just like that. Now to do what is considered the wrong side, or the opposite side, you have my purl first, and then knit. And when you do the other side, you always want to purl in the purls and knit in the knit. That is one way to remember when you're working on the flat or on the straight needles. So I want to go in from the front, but I want to keep my working yarn, get this extra yarn out of the way, to the front. And I want to purl in this one. So purl. I did an extra big huge loop there, so tighten that up. And then I want to have my yarn to the back of my needle, and I want to knit into the knit one. So on the back side, I'm purl one, knit one. And I want to purl this one. And then I want to yarn to the back so I can knit this next one. Then I bring yarn to the front to purl. Then yarn to the back to knit. And you just want to continue this to the end of your row. Purl. And then we're going to knit. And then we're going to purl. And when I first started knitting, I was not a fan of doing a rib because it took me forever to figure out, and I would get confused on where I was if I had to put it down. But then I learned to watch my yarn lays and to watch my little bumps versus the V's, and I would know where I was. And then I don't mind doing it anymore. And then you just keep going, just like that, and I ended on a purl. So then I flip it to the right side again. It's knitted in the knit ones and purls in the purl one. This is really loose over here. I obviously kept my yarn too loose when I was ending each row. But there's how you do a 1x1 rib. And I'll do one more row and I can show you again how to figure out which stitch you're on if you lose your place. So we're going to go into this first one, and I'm going to knit because on the right side I knit one first. So knit one, then I want to bring my yarn over and purl, and I want to bring my yarn to the back and knit. And let's say I had to put this down, I had to go take care of something, do something, put it away for the night, and I come in the next day. Okay, which am I on? I know I'm doing a rib, but do I need to purl next or rib next? And maybe the yarn is too fine, I can't see these clearly, or I'm not far enough in my project to notice them. So I look to see which way my yarn wants to lay. I might have put it away last night thinking I was going to do a stitch, and I left it to the front, but you can tell it does not want to stay there. Now I'll try to see how it's twisted over the stitch. Let me back my camera out here. Maybe I can show it a little better. Okay, so now I'm getting all mixed up here. Excuse me while I fix this. Here. Okay, so my yarn is to the back right now. That means I just finished a knit. And you can tell by it just wants to lay there nicely. It just came out of the stitch. But if I cross it over to do the purl, it's crossing over the stitch I just did. See, so it's crossing over that V I just did. And that's how I know I have to purl next, because I want it to cross over the next one. So I purl, and when I purl one, I have the bump here, but then my yarn also just came out of the stitch and it wants to lay to the front. So flip it to the back for knit, and then you just knit one, purl one. Or if you're doing a 2x2 rib or a 3x3, whatever size rib you're doing, you want to knit the purls, or sorry, knit the knits and purl the purls. And you want to purl and knit. This is a purl because I have my yarns in the front. And then this one is it's got the V, and my yarn needs to go to the back of my project to knit, just like this. And if you want to know how to do purls and knits, I have a video that you can go to my channel and see a video on how to do a stockinette, and that shows you how to knit and purl. And you just keep going, just like this. And I'm almost done. Purl. And then knit. And there is a slight difference to when you're doing it in the round, because in the round you don't have to flip it. You don't have the wrong side. So this is doing it flat, and so when I flip it, I purl the purls and knit the knits. So the first side here, I started with a knit and ended with a knit. This side, the wrong side, I start with a purl and end with a purl. And that's for straight needles. Now, if we're working in the round, and I apologize if this is hard to see, this is another project I have currently going right now. This is a 2x2 rib, and this is knit 2, purl 2. And I had to put this down the other day, and it's just started. And I can see that I'm on the wrong side here for first. Okay, so I have 2 purls here because I have 2 little lumps here. And then these are my 2 knit ones. And when you're knitting in the round, like this, it's a little tight here because it's still a new row. Let me slide my stitches down here. So this, I have my yarn laying to the front, but that's crossed over a stitch because it wants to lay nice that way and not cross over a stitch. So I know I have to purl 2 next. So I will go in and purl 2. And I need to bring some of my yarn around. It is really tight on here. And still really tight here. I think it's getting hung up on my knitting needles right here. Working with me here. Oh, right there is where it's getting hung up because my circular needles are wanting to come unscrewed. And that is not something we want. So I just tighten it back down, and then when I get to a stopping point, I will tighten it. Okay, that's much better. It slides much better that way. Okay, now I can push off this purl that I did, and I need to do 1 more purl, and then knit 2. So knit and knit, and then purl 2, and then when I get to my end of my round here, which is right here, I will knit in the knits and purl in the purls. So this one I started knit and I'll end in purl, and then I will go knit, purl, or knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. So in the round, you just want to keep continuing, and you will end in the opposite of what you started. So if you started in knit, you will end in purl. If you start in purl, you will end in knit. And then you just keep repeating the same row over again until your desired length or number of rows. And this is going to be an American flag hat type thing. And this will also be available on my, and it looks like my row's twisted, but it is not. I just have to fix it here. But this will also be available on my Ravelry store when it is completed and I have it typed up. And I ask if you like this video to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will respond to you as soon as I can. And if you really like this video, please subscribe. And remember, when I get to 2,000 subscribers, I will be giving away a free pattern of your choice from my Ravelry store. And I just wish you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.